then up to read the corn. Fever I was born, con a stab like porn, the banish ghosts and goblins rattling all the boys. Friend of our rose, frightening all the dogs on the rocky road. Doubling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up the hill and through the down the rocky road and all the way to Dublin.
Evening, gents. Start out with the housekeeping. This is a pipe, whether you can see it well or not, that my wife got for me at our local Edwards, what was local down in Denver when we were there. And darned if I can find a marking on it, but it is a favorite. I like marking. It's got little, what appear to be puffs of smoke kind of rusticated into it. It actually has a really nice grain pattern. I'm kind of surprised that they interfered with it, but I like to say I like the way they did. So, and in it, some Black Watch. All from Edward. Enjoying enjoying that little bit of vanilla Cavendish mixed with the barley. Very good. Well, I have to preface this video by saying I've never been a big fantasy buff reader. Always liked it just fine. Always appreciated Tolkien and some of the other kind of real highlights about it. But just recently I've been getting into a little bit more fantasy, so as I review another fantasy book tonight, know that that's not all I read. But one thing leads to another, and once you tell someone you like this, they say, "Hey, have you tried that?" And you're like, "No, I haven't." Sure, that's what it is. And I'm interested. I was a music major in college and a history minor, and I took as much literature as I could, anything else. Such were my interests. And one of the best classes I took was a sci-fi lit class. And essentially, the reality seems to be, or appears to me, I may be wrong, but that sci-fi writers are not nearly so respected. Even though they're creative and exploring some really deep themes of humanity and what it is to be human and all that. I mean, Philip K. Dick being obviously a great example of that. William Gibson, I think, and others. Anyway, many others. But it seems like there was no such class offered for fantasy, and I've always wondered why fantasy gets the short end of the stick. I mean, it's such a wonderful tool, just like sci-fi is, pure sci-fi or science fantasy at least, to isolate something, isolate a topic, anyway. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But on the advice of a YouTube viewer, my brother-in-law, and one other friend who's in this Bible study that I'm headed to right now, I picked up a copy of R.A. Salvatore's Homeland, which is part of the Legend of Drizzt, which is one of those Forgotten Realms serial books. I always steered clear because serial literature never really appealed to me, which was a stupid and arrogant reality, but it is who I am. So and I really enjoyed it. Very dark, very vivid world that he's created. 1990, I think he wrote it. I always have trouble distinguishing the worlds of Tolkien from Brooks, from this guy and from that guy, and I think he takes a little bit more for granted than is helpful to me. But he's a tremendous author and tremendous narrator of action scenes, which is nice, but not necessarily thematically important. And like I say, it's a pretty cunning criticism on some of the realities of society. So, that being said, I would certainly recommend, if you can pick it up, especially if you can pick it up used. I believe there's like 3 million books in this series, but I am starting from the beginning, and then I'll go till I get bored. So, and I may not. The first one moved really quickly. The climax left a lot to be desired. And in this sense, it's a prequel, I think, to another trilogy he wrote. And it has that prequel sense, like he knows where he has to get, and so he's building the story getting there. So there's there's the elements of that, kind of like the newer Star Wars trilogy. Not that I want to start a whole new topic, because I just get hot around the collar thinking about that one. Anyway, I hope you're all well, and smoke continues to satisfy. Have a good night.